Hello, this is Jim Benson from Modus Cooperandi and Personal Kanban, and we're here for another Personal Kanban short. This one is on an anti-pattern about planning, and what I've noticed recently is that people have been telling me that either personally or in their teams, they stop planning because they start doing Kanban, and that troubles me. Eisenhower once said that plans were useless, but planning was indispensable. And I subscribe to that theory. Planning is being aware of your situation and constantly trying to be a few steps ahead of what's going to happen next. A plan is a rigid document or a rigid object that we use to say, in the future, I will do exactly these things or very close to exactly these things, and it doesn't account for context. So when we do Kanban or we do personal Kanban, what our goal is to use the visual control, the backlog, the doing in active states, and the things that we've completed as a descriptor for what our situation is, what has happened, what is happening, what will happen in the future. And so we want to plan, or engage in planning, I should say, by seeing what's on the board and working with what's on the board. And so Tony Ann and I do this in the mornings by having what in software is called a stand-up meeting. And in the software stand-up meeting, people discuss what they did yesterday and what they're going to do today. Well, for us, our Kanban already tells us that, so we don't need to spend our time just informing each other what we're doing. But what we do need to talk about is what in these things that's coming up requires discussion, and which of these things do we want to choose to work on right now. And the way that we can do that is we can, we come in here, we have a conversation, we say, okay, we want to do these things. So Tony Ann here wants to do this, and I want to write this blog post, and we get started. And we understand what each other is doing. We are informed, which means that while Tony Ann is enhancing that slide share, I can help her because I know what she's working on and I know what's included in that. So it gives us an opportunity to collaborate. However, in the middle of the day, we might be thwarted, right? So let's say that Jerry calls in the middle of the day and all of a sudden we have that meeting. Even though we didn't really plan on it, it's what actually happened. Now, we could get upset and we could say, I'm sorry, Jerry, but we can't talk to you today because we're too busy doing other stuff. But that's not polite, and it also doesn't really help us get the work done. Oddly enough, the best time to have that meeting was when he called. So we can move that over, and it changes our plans for the day. It doesn't necessarily, so what it may mean is that, I might not get this blog post done today. Tony Ann might not get that new language up on the website. But that's okay, because it's what actually happened, and it needed to happen anyway. So, we have a certain amount of interruption, and we can deal with that. There are other ways to lessen the amount of interruption, but we can't make them fully go away, and we can't be too upset when our things get interrupted or our plans change. So over time, what we can do is we can see how what we plan on doing in the morning actually equates to what we've completed by the end of the day, and that helps us make more decisions. It helps us make some specific decisions around how much can we pull out of here in the morning that we can be assured we'll finish during the day. Because if we try and pull 8 hours worth of work from here to here, we know we're going to be disappointed because there's always going to be some degree of interruptions. So the other part of this is a planning meeting. So once a week or once a month or whatever might make sense for you or your team, you should have a good long talk about what's coming up and what you will want to populate your backlog with. Because your backlog is going to reflect the work that you're about to do. And again, you want to fill it with an appropriate amount of work. Because if you fill it with too much stuff, you're going to feel disappointed that you didn't finish it. If you fill it with not enough stuff, it's going to be frustrating because you're going to feel like you're always going back and putting new stuff into the backlog. So there's always that balance. But today, just wanted to talk about that anti-pattern. Planning is indispensable. we need to know what we're doing. The whole point of having the Kanban is having a system that shows us what we're doing so that we can make better choices. We don't make the best choices on the fly, oh, I finished this, what should I do next? But by having a thoughtful backlog, a thoughtfully groomed backlog that we can complete and we can feel good about. So that's it for this time. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next Personal Kanban short. Bye-bye.